Kakadosh Boker Tov. We are continuing Masechet Pesahim. Kuf Yudalid Amud Aleph 114a1. Says the Mishnah, Mazgulo Kos Rishon. What happens right now if they were preparing in front of the Balabait the Kos Rishon? So they come and they pour for him the first cup of wine, okay, of the 4 cups. And he says Kiddush. He says Borei Priya Gefen on the wine, and he says Kiddushat Hayom, which is the Kiddush of the day. Bet Shammai Omrim, Bet Shammai come and they say, Mevarech al hayom ve'achar kach mevarech al hayayin, which means first you're going to make the bracha of the Kiddush, meaning Mekadesh Yisrael ve'zemanim, and then afterwards you're going to make the bracha on the yain, on the wine, which is Borei Priya Gefen. Bet Hillel Omrim, Bet Hillel come and they say, Mevarech al hayayin ve'achar kach mevarech al hayom. You first make Borei Priya Gefen, and then afterwards you're going to come and you're going to make, right, the Kiddushat Hayom, which that's how obviously we go by, like, which is like Bet Hillel. So first you do Borei Priya Gefen, and then you continue with Mekadesh Yisrael ve'azemanim. That is the Mishnah. Says the Gemara, Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita, Devarim shebet Shammai u'Bet Hillel, right, the different machlokot between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel that they argue to do with the Seudah. Bet Shammai Omrim, Bet Shammai says, Mevarech al hayom ve'achar kach mevarech al hayayin. You always make the bracha on the day, and then afterwards on the yain, on Borei Priya Gefen. Why? The day is causing the gefen to come, which means, why are you making Borei Priya Gefen? You're only making Borei Priya Gefen because it's a Yom Tov, or it's something of the day. So you first make the bracha of the day, and then you're going to make the bracha of Borei Priya Gefen. That's a shita of Bet Shammai. However, ukvar kidesh hayom, he says, 1 second, the day already became sanctified, meaning it already became Yom Tov, and then the wines still do not come. So because of that, that is Shita Bet Shammai, that first what you're going to do is you're going to do the Yom, and then afterwards, Borei Peri Hagefen. Okay? Next, Ubet Hillel Omrim, Bet Hillel says, yeah, he comes and he says like this, Mevarech al hayayin, ve'achar kach mevarech al hayom. First, you're going to make a bracha of the wine, and then afterwards, you're going to come and you're going to make a bracha of Kiddushat Hayom. So according to Bet Hillel, first you make Borei Priya Gefen, and then afterwards, you're going to make the Mekadesh Yisrael ve'zemanim, which that's what we do. Mipnei shayayin gorem lekiddush te'amer. Because the wine is what's causing that the Kiddush is going to do it, which means, because if a person doesn't have wine or bread, he doesn't make Kiddush. So the wine is the ikar. So that is the concept that a person first makes Borei Priya Gefen, and then he's going to come and he's going to do Mekadesh Yisrael ve'zemanim. And that is the shita of Bet Hillel. Davar acher, another reasoning, Birkat hayayin tedira. Tadir v'sheno tadir, tadir kodem. What is tadir? Birkat hayayin. Ubirkat hayom and tedira, but it's not Birkat hayom. It's only going to be said on Shabbat and Yamim Tovim. So the fact that you could always say Borei Priya Gefen, and every single day you could say Borei Priya Gefen, that is more tadir, that is more constant than the other one. The tadir v'sheno tadir, tadir kodem. The hilcheta, what is halacha? Kedivre Bet Hillel, like the words of Bet Hillel. Okay. So says the Gemara, my davar acher. What does it mean exactly, davar acher? Meaning, why did Bet Hillel mean 2 different reasons? Bet Hillel gave 2 reasons why do you first do Borei Priya Gefen, and then you do Mekadesh Yisrael ve'zemanim, the Biracha Hayom. 2 different reasons brought down. Reason number 1, he says because it was the wine which was causing it. Why is the wine causing it? Because if there was no wine and no bread, you don't say Kiddush. So it's only because you have the wine or the bread, that's when you say Kiddush. So the wine is causing the Kiddush. So you first do Borei Priya Gefen, and then you do Mekadesh Yisrael ve'zemanim. What was the davar acher? What was the second reasoning brought down? He said, Davar acher, tadir v'sheno tadir, tadir kodem. What do you do more? Borei Priya Gefen or Mekadesh Yisrael ve'zemanim or Mekadesh Shabbat? Right, Borei Priya Gefen. You could do Borei Priya Gefen every single day of your life. You come, obviously, other than Kippur or Tisha B'Av, whatever it is, but I'm saying, you come and you drink, you make Borei Priya Gefen. But it's not like that for Yamim Tovim or Shabbat. So, my davar acher, why did he have to bring another reason? So, says the Gemara, V'chitema hatam tarte ve'achachada. If somebody is going to say, 1 second, Bet Shammai had 2 reasons. And here, there's only 1 reason. which means, what did Bet Shammai say? Bet Shammai came and they said, why is it 2 reasons by Bet Shammai? It says over here, right? Number one, the yain is causing, the day is causing the wine to come. And number 2, it's already Yom Tov. And only afterwards you come and you do the gefen. Which means, Bet Shammai have 2 reasons why do you first do Kiddushat Yom and then you do Borei Peri Gefen. Number 1, he says, why do you say Borei Peri Gefen? Because of the Kiddush. So the Kiddush is on the Yom. So first do the Yom and then do Borei Peri Gefen. Reason number 2, it's already Yom Tov before you come and you touch the wine. Meaning Yom Tov came in or Shabbat came in and then you come and you take the wine. So therefore you should say Mekadesh Yisrael Zemanim, which is a Yom which already came in and then Borei Peri Gefen. So there's 2 reasons for Bet Shammai and only 1 for Bet Hillel. So answers the Gemara, Chanami Tarteninu. So therefore, that's what we brought down in the Baracher. Also, according to Bet Hillel, Tadir Vesheno Tadir, Tadir Kodem. That therefore, since you always go by the constant, and there's more times that you break up Borei Peri Gefen than anything else, that's why we come and we mentioned it to tell you that there's 2 and 2, 2 against 2. It wasn't 2 against 1, meaning Bet Shammai had 2 reasons and Bet Hillel 1. It was 2 against 2. Bet Shammai has 2 reasons, and Bet Hillel has 2 reasons. Okay? Until here, we're clear? Yeah? Okay. I'm going to take it that everyone's silent, so that means that everyone understands.
Absolutely, very clear.
Okay, very good. Let's continue. Valacha kedivre Bet Hillel. The halacha is like the words of Bet Hillel, which means that that's how we do, obviously, nowadays as well. We first do Borei Peri Gefen, and then Mekadesh Yisrael v'Zemanim, or Mekadesh Shabbat, or whatever all the other berachot of the Kiddush. So says the Gemara, Pshita, obviously the halacha is like Bet Hillel. Tanafik bat kol. The Gemara Masechet Eruvin brought down, we already learned this, that a bat kol came out, and the heavenly voice came out saying that we paskin like Bet Hillel. So obviously we go like Bet Hillel. So says the Gemara, if you want, you could answer that this is talking about Kodem a bat kol, before the bat kol, and therefore we were paskening like Bet Hillel before the bat kol, because obviously after the bat kol there's nothing what to talk about. It's obvious that we're going to do that, right? Or if you want, you could answer. It's still talking about after the bat kol, and it's talking about Rabbi Yoshua, Shitat Rabbi Yoshua. That the Shitat Rabbi Yoshua is the man mashkichim bat kol, that we don't pay attention to the bat kol. So according to him, even though there was a heavenly voice that came out and said that we paskin like Bet Hillel, we don't paskin like that. So therefore, but we don't pay attention to bat kol. So according to that, we had to explicitly say that the halacha was like Bet Hillel in this case. Okay? Next Mishnah. Second Mishnah, Kuf Yudalad Amud Aleph. Mishnah says, Heviu lefanav, if they brought in front of him different types of vegetables in order to eat the karpas. Remember that many different customs about what we eat karpas. What do we use?
Water and melech, water and salt.
No, but what is the actual vegetable though?
Lettuce. Lettuce is the preference.
Nah, that's for, you're talking about chazeret or maror. We're talking about karpas.
The part is celery.
Celery, very good. That's our minhag. But do you know, Ashkenazim, some of them use I don't remember if they use carrots or potato, like they use other things. You understand? Meaning that everyone has different customs. Our minhag is to use celery. Okay? Fine. So it says here, imagine they brought in front of him the different vegetables for eating karpas, okay? Now, he doesn't have any other vegetable other than lettuce, okay? That means the only thing that he has is lettuce. So it says the Mishnah, metabel b'chazeret, right? Ad shemagia leparperet apat. So it says here, what are you going to do? And you're going to be metabel, you're going to come and you're going to dip the lettuce, okay, in another food, and then you're going to eat it. Okay? Ad shemagia leparperet apat. It says here, before a person is going to come to that chazeret that he's going to eat after matzah, right, in order to be mekayim the mitzvah of maror. Okay? So that means one more time. A guy has nothing else. He only has lettuce, romaine lettuce, right? Or whatever he's using for the chazeret, for the maror. Okay? So what's he going to do? That's what he's going to use. He's going to dip that, and that's it. Says the Mishnah, after he comes and he dips the karpas, Heviu lefanav matzah v'chazeret v'charoset. They bring in front of him matzah, chazeret. Okay, now here this is for the eating of the maror, V'charoset. Remember, we dip the maror in the charoset. Okay? Ushne tavshilin, and two different types of foods. Here it says here, one was a zecher for the two different korbanot. So it says over here, one of them was Kerega the Korban Pesach, one of them was Korban Chagiga. Right? That's why we have, whether it's the shank bone or the egg. Okay? So it says here, Shne Tavshilin, Af al pi she'en charoset mitzvah, even though there's no, the dipping of the charoset is not the mitzvah, right? Still, they would bring it in front of him. Here it says, the Gemara is going to ask, what does that mean? Well, there's no shum tibul, there's no mitzvah. So for what are you telling me now about the charoset? Meaning, like, what's the entire concept of the dipping then? So says the Mishnah, Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Tzadok Omer, Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Tzadok argues on this and he says, no, the tibul of the maror and the charoset is a mitzvah. Meaning, you just told me that it's not a mitzvah to dip the maror and the charoset. It is a mitzvah. He argues, Uva Migdash, and in the Bet HaMikdash, when the Bet HaMikdash was around, they used to bring the korban in itself. Right? Obviously, nowadays, because B'Avanotenu Rabim, we do not have our Bet HaMikdash, we cannot bring the korban, but technically speaking, we used to actually bring the korban in itself. Okay. Gemara, Kuf Yudaled Amud Bet, 114b. Says the Gemara, Amar Resh Lakish, says Resh Lakish, Zot Omeret, we taught in the Mishnah that we have to bring the chazeret twice. Once for karpas and once for maror. Obviously, we're talking about that you don't have karpas, meaning that you don't have another vegetable. Because if you had another vegetable, you would use the other vegetable. But you didn't have. So you used the romaine lettuce twice. Once for karpas and once for maror.
Chazeret, maror.
Yeah, for the chazeret. So it says zot omeret, right? It comes out, mitzvot tzrichot kavanah. The fact, why did it say, why aren't you going to be at Chovah for the first time for 2 for 1? If you're already eating the romaine lettuce, so the romaine lettuce should work also as a karpas and also for the maror, 2 for 1. You're eating it, it should work for both. Says the Gemara, Zot Omeret, so says Resh Lakish, this shows you, that the mitzvot need kavanah. Why? Right? Because it's only if you had kavanah to be Yitzhak Chovah, the maror at that time, you are going to be Yitzhak Chovah. But if not, no. Because since at the time when a person was eating the chazeret, right? He says over here, it was at the time of a chiyuv of eating the maror. He's coming and he's eating it for Ber Pri Adama in itself, and he's not making the bracha v'al achilat maror. Which means like this. For the karpas, we make a bracha. The bracha for karpas is Ber Pri Adama. Remember, this is before the amotzi. So you're making a bracha. Okay? So you make this is the only time when the Edot Mizrach, they're choser b'tshuva and they do like the Moroccans. Yeah, they make a bracha right before the amotzi. Yeah? So what happens? They come and they make Ber Pri Adama. So they made Ber Pri Adama and they had a little bit of the celery. They have to have in mind that this Ber Pri Adama is going to exempt them from the maror later on. Okay? Now, when they eat the maror, they don't do Ber Pri Adama. They make al achilat maror. That's a bracha. So he says the fact that they come and they're making this bracha, then what is the bracha that they're making? They're making the bracha of Ber Pri Adama and they're not making the bracha of al achilat maror. Obviously, they're not going to have kavanah for it. Right? V'dilma lo yikaven lemaror. So obviously, since they're not making the bracha of al achilat maror and only making the bracha of Ber Pri Adama, so they're not having kavanah for maror. That's why they have to do it again. The Shem Maror, for Maror. But if you're going to tell me that the mitzvot do not need kavanot to be Yitzhak Chovah to fulfill their obligation, so why do you have to dip it twice? You already did it once. And in one shot, you're going to be Yitzhak Chovah for both, which means that you should be able to do 2 for 1. The concept of the 2 for 1 is that since right now I'm doing it now, and I don't need kavanah to be Yitzhak Chovah, I was already Yitzhak Chovah, right? 2 for 1. Yeah? Fine. Hold on one second. So says the Gemara, if mitzvot do not need kavanah, why do you have to dip twice? The second you dipped it once, you already Yitzhak Chovah, because you don't need kavanah, right, for the mitzvot. So this is a proof, obviously, mitzvot tzrichot kavanah. So says the Gemara, that's not true. Why? Mimai. How do you learn this? Dilma leolam mitzvot and tzrichot kavanah. Maybe be'emet mitzvot do not need kavanah. Now you're going to ask me, so according to that, why do you need two twice? Why do you need to dip twice? It's very simple. So there should be a heker for the tinukot. Remember, the entire concept of dipping is that way the children are going to ask, right? Right? Why do we say mani shana alayla? What do you say? That all of a sudden we come and we start matbilim afilu pamachat, and all of a sudden now we're shte pamim. We're matbilim shte pamim. We do two tevilot. We come and we dip twice. We dip the karpas, the celery, in whether it's the vinegar or salt water, and then we come and we dip the maror into the charoset. So the fact that we do the dippings twice is not because you're not yitzeh chovah the mitzvah. Really, be'emet, you are yitzeh chovah, and mitzvot do not need kavanah. But here, the entire reason why is why, in order that the children should ask, right? There should be a ken. There should be a recognition. The children should realize what's going on. If you're going to tell me in ken lishmein and shad yirakot, what? 1 second. If you're going to tell me 1 second, what about that? So why don't we just say that's only to do with a kid? So why don't we just teach this to do with other vegetables, right? And then the second time around as well. Which means, why is it Dafka coming and teaching us about the chazeret twice? So he comes and he says, Yashmin and shari rakot. If it was only going to be in the other vegetables in one time, havamina echadika shari rakot. That's only if you have other vegetables. Then you need to do twice. Aval chazer lechuda. But if you only had one vegetable, which is the romaine lettuce, lo baitre to me, you don't need it. Meaning like this. What is the Gemara coming and telling you? The Gemara is telling you, maybe be'emet mitzvot do not need kavanah. If mitzvot do not need kavanah, so then why do you need to dip twice? Dip once. Answers the Gemara, it's not because you know Yitzhak Chovah. You're Yotzei Chovah, both. The karpas and the maror in one shot. Okay? But what's happening now? We want the children to recognize. So he says, 1 second, maybe you're going to tell me that the children are going to recognize it only if you have other vegetables. Meaning, when do you have to do two tevilot? When you have another vegetable and then you have romaine lettuce, right? You have two separate entities. But if you only had one entity, maybe according to Nisha, according to everybody, you would be enough to do one. So says the Gemara, Kamashmalan comes to teach you that even the chazeret, he comes and he says over here, even in the case of the chazeret, right? You still need to do two tibulim, which means even if you have one vegetable, you do not have anything else other than chazeret. You only have romaine lettuce. You couldn't find nothing else. No celery, no this, no that, nada. Yeah, wallow, right? But you're still supposed to do twice. Why? Because of the children. Okay? Ve'od Tanya, we also taught in a braita. This is to do with the being mekayem the mitzvah maror with one of the different vegetables which are kasher. Achalan demai yatsa. Remember, the Gemara and Lametet Amud have taught you that you're allowed to use for maror 5 different types of vegetables. One of them was, right, the vegetable which is basically romaine lettuce, and one of them is going to be endives, right? Those are the 2 most common ones, okay, that they have. So you have romaine lettuce, and you have endives. Those are just 2, but really there's 5 in total, okay? So the Gemara says, if you're going to come and you're going to eat it demai means that it's from fruits of an amaretz, that you have to do midrabbanan, you have to take off masrot again, but not midoraita, was probably he did take it off. Yatsa, you're going to be Yitzhak Chovah. Achlam belo mitkaven, if you ate it without kavanah, which means without kavanah of fulfilling the mitzvah maror, yatsa, you're also going to be Yitzhak Chovah. Achalan lachatzaim, if you ate it, first half a kezait maror, and then half of another kezait, yatsa, you're also going to be Yitzhak Chovah. But you cannot wait more than achila pras, which means if you're going to wait more, whether it's going to be the 4 minutes, the 6 minutes, the 7 minutes, the 9, whatever it is, you're not going to be Yitzhak. So imagine I ate a little tiny piece of maror. After 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I ate another piece of maror. You're not going to be Yitzhak. Okay? So answers the Gemara, Tanaihi. You're right. It's a machloket Tanaim. Right? The Tanya was learned in a Braita, which means do mitzvot need kavanah or not, is a machloket Tanaim. Because we learned in a Braita, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yosef says, Af al pi shetibel bechazeret, mitzvah lavi lefanav chazer v'charoset shne tavshilin. Even though a person came and he did the first tibul with chazeret, which means he didn't have celery, so he came and he dipped the first time the maror into the dip also, it's still a mitzvah to bring in front of him chazeret, charoset, and the 2 tavshilin. It's again another mitzvah. Okay, and therefore you see that Shitat Rabbi Yosef is that a person is not going to be Yitzchak Chova the first time around, because according to him, Mitzvot Tzrichot Kavanah. So obviously this is a Machloket Tanaim. So says the Gemara, V'akati Mimai, who told you that? Dilma Kasava Rabbi Yosef, maybe Rabbi Yosef holds Mitzvot Enat Tzrichot Kavanah. Mitzvot do not need Kavanah. And like what we answered before, the reason why you have to dip twice is because of the children, not because of Mitzvot Tzrichot Kavanah or not. So who told you that Rabbi Yosef holds Mitzvot Tzrichot Kavanah and so on and so forth? Maybe Be'emet Rabbi Yosef holds Mitzvot do not need Kavanah. So why do you need to dip it twice? For the children again, just like we answered before. So answers the Gemara, if so, my mitzvah. Why did Rabbi Yosef say it's still a mitzvah? He used the word, the Tanya Rabbi Yosef Omer, Af al pi shetiber b'chazeret, mitzvah le'avi lefanav chazer v'charotz v'shnei. That's not a mitzvah. Meaning, if you're just doing it for the children to have a recognition, to be recognizing what's going on, it's not a mitzvah. You're just doing it. It's that way they wake up and they smell the coffee a little bit. They realize, oh, something's weird here. What is this? The night of Passover, night of Pesach, what's going on? This, that. It's weird. But if you say a mitzvah, mitzvah means you weren't Yitzchak Chova the mitzvah beforehand. So that is a proof in Shitat Rabbi Yosef. Okay, nekuda, right? Dot. Until here we're clear? Yeah? Fine. Kuf Yudaled Amud Bet, we're towards the bottom. Okay? Maishne tavshilim, what does it mean that you're going to bring two different types of food? Ravuna says, silka ve'aroza, selek and orez. Orez is rice, right? And silka, usually they translate it as beets, correct? That's how it translates over there?
Beets.
Yeah, okay, so beets and rice, okay? So says the Gemara, now why would you have these two? Rav Huna is mechadesh, right? That it says that even though these two tavshilim are connected, korban pesach chagiga, they don't have to be dafka like of a meat or things like that. They could be any type of two foods. So two foods. What do you have? Rice and beets. Okay, fine. Rava have a mehadra silka varoza. Rava used to always look for beets and for rice. Ho'il v'nafek mipudem be'ed Ravuna, since it came out of the mouth of Ravuna, which means the fact that Ravuna came and he said that you should use beets and rice, that's what he did. Fine, perfect. Amar Ravashi says, Shema mina de Rav Huna. We learn from Rav Huna, let the chay shelad Rav Yochanan Menuri, that he doesn't look like Rav Yochanan Menuri. The time was learned on right. Rav Yochanan Menuri, Omer Rav Yochanan Menuri says, Orez min daganhu. Orez, which is rice, is a type of a dagan. So the fact that he holds it's a type of a dagan, right? It's a type of one of the five, it's like one of the 5 grains, so therefore it could become chametz. Okay? Chayavim al chimutzo karet, and therefore chametz, a person is chayav karet. Ve'adam yotzei chovato bepesach, and a person could be yotzei chova with Pesach, with making out of rice. Meaning he would make rice, right, out of on Pesach, and that he would be yotzei chova, whether it's a matzah out of rice. Now, obviously, we don't hold of Rabbi Yochanan Menuri, but it's a shita. That's what you heard this morning from Rabbi Mansur, right, that about rice. Rice cannot become chametz because we don't paskin like Rabbi Yochanan Menuri. We hold not like Rabbi Yochanan Menuri says it's a type of a grain. We hold it's not a type of grain. If it's not a type of grain, it can never become chametz, and there's no problem. It's only a problem would be of, getting things mixed up with it, but it's not a problem of the rice in itself. Okay? Chizkiya says, no, we're not talking about two tavshilin, rice and beets, but rather afilu dag ubetza shelav. We're talking about a fish and even beitza that you put on the fish. It's considered 2 different types of tavshilin. Again, each one of these pshatim is still that it doesn't have to be specifically to do with a korban, because there was no korban coming from fish. Okay, but that's just the way it was. Rav Yosef says, no. Tzarich shnei minei basar. We have to bring 2 different types of meat. Echad zech lePesach, one zech lekorban Pesach, ve'echad zech lechagiga, right? And one which is zech lechagiga, right? The korban chagiga. The Ravina says, afilu garma ubishula, even if you're going to have a bone and the rotav which is coming out of it is considered 2 different types of tavshilim. Okay? Even a bone and the how do you call it, rotav, the sauce which is coming out of the bone. So says the Gemara, pshita hecha deika she'ar yerakot mevarech ashar yerakot b'rei adama ve'achil. Right? It's obvious. So that means basically we finished that Gemara, which is very interesting because we for sure do like a type of a basar. The only question is, right, we do a basar and then an egg. We don't do 2 different types of basar. But okay, fine. Then it says like this. It's obvious that if a person has other vegetables, you're going to make a bracha borei pri adama on the other vegetables. You're going to eat that for the karpas. V'hadar, and then, right, mevarech, then you're going to make al achilat maror. V'achil, and then you're going to eat al achilat maror. Right? Eicha deleka lachasa. He says, 1 second, what about when you're not going to have chasa, which means that you only have the romaine lettuce? What are you going to do? Right? On what? On which chazeret are you going to make the alachila maror? Ravuna says, at the beginning, you're going to make the berachah maror b'rei pri adama. Ve'achal, and you're going to eat it. Right? Ve'achil, you're going to eat it like karpas. Ulvasof, and then afterwards, you're going to make bracha v'alachila maror ve'achil, and then you're going to eat it for maror. And then we're going to have the new question tomorrow, Be'ezrat Hashem.